Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for being here. I'd like to call to order Streets and Services Committee. We do have a quorum. To my left, Councilman Tottenberger, Councilman Greenlee. To my right, Councilman O. Mr. McMonagle, would you please read the titles of the first bills?
Bill number 180725, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Locust Street and 46th Street and Larchwood Street, 57th Street and Chestnut Street. And Bill number 180726, an ordinance establishing a parking regulation on Spring Garden Street, north side 34th Street to 33rd Street. And Bill number 180727, an ordinance establishing a parking regulation on 33rd Street, both sides, Haverford Avenue to Wallace Street. And Bill number 180738, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Penn Street and Kennedy Street, Masher Street and Norris Street. And Bill number 180752, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Mentor Street at Old York Road, Carlisle Street at Loudon Street, 19th Street at Olney Avenue. And Bill number 180815, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of 20th Street and Brown Street, Bouvier Street and Montgomery Avenue, 28th Street and Cecil B. Moore Avenue, 23rd Street and Parish Street, Mount Vernon Street and 11th Street, Harper Street and 29th Street, Brown Street and 23rd Street. And Bill number 180816, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Thompson Street and Creech Street and Girard Avenue, Hancock Street and Girard Avenue, Marlborough Street and Wildy Street, Belgrade Street and Creech Street, Girard Avenue and Frankfurt Avenue, Day Street and Thompson Streets. And Bill number 180817, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of 16th Street and Oxford Street, Aspen Street and 25th Street, Aspen Street and 23rd Street, Aspen Street and 24th Street. And Bill number 180839, an ordinance establishing parking regulations in the vicinity of Capitol Street, East Side, Brown Street to Parish Street, North Side 17th Street to 18th Street, 29th Street, both sides, Master Street to Thompson Street, Tioga Street, both sides, Germantown Avenue to Old York Road, 4th Street, both sides, Fairmount Avenue to Green Street.
Thank you. Ms. Bracely, if you'd like to proceed with your testimony, state your name for the record, and then you could just testify on all bills read into the record. Hold on.
My name is Dion Bracely, Deputy Manager for the Philadelphia Parking Authority. Thank you for allowing me to testify before Council regarding ordinances 180725, 180726, 180727, 180738, 180752, 180815, 180816, 180817, and 180839, establishing parking regulations. The Philadelphia Parking Authority has no objection to the ordinances previously read before Council and recommends favorable consideration. Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Great job. Is there anybody else here to testify on bill numbers 180725, 726, 727, 738, 752, 815, 816, 817, or 839? Seeing none, are there any questions? Thank you for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title on the next bill.
Bill number 180425, an ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on both sides of Elmwood Avenue from South 68th Street to South 70th Street.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squill and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs of the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 180425. This regulation would be posted in the next 30 days on a trial basis. If we do not receive any major complaints or concerns from the residents, it will become a permanent City Council ordinance. As such, the Department of Streets has no objections to this bill. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you for your testimony. Is anyone else here to testify on bill number 180425? Seeing none, are there any questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180608, an ordinance establishing a no truck parking regulation on Weichel Street between East Tioga Street and East Ontario Street.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on bill number 180608. This regulation will be posted in the next 30 days on a trial basis. If we do not receive any major complaints or concerns from the residents, it will become a permanent ordinance. As such, the Department of Streets has no objections to this bill. Thank you for your time. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 180608?
I'm going to skip this next guy and go to Nick.
All right, Mr. McMahon, will please read the title of the next bill?
Bill number 180748, an ordinance amending section 10-704 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Litter on Sidewalks to authorize agreements with the Department of Streets for the placement of privately owned waste and recycling receptacles in the right-of-way, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thanks, Nick. Please state your name for the record and proceed with your testimony.
Sure. My name is Nick Esposito, and I'm with the Zero Waste and Litter Director from the Managing Director's Office. So good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the committee. My name is Nick Esposito. I'm the Director of the Zero Waste and Litter Cabinet. In the Managing Director's Office, I'm here to offer testimony for Bill number 180748, amending Chapter 10704 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Litter on Sidewalks to authorize agreements with the Streets Department for the placement of privately owned waste and recycling receptacles in the right-of-way under certain terms and conditions. This bill is a critical step forward to increase the number of publicly accessible waste receptacles in Philadelphia, stemming from the Cabinet's 2017 behavioral study in coordination with GovLab PHL and the Mayor's Office. We conducted a randomized control trial to determine the effects of drastically reducing and adding waste receptacles in public spaces. The results showed that when waste receptacles were removed in public spaces, litter increased, as did staff time picking up that litter. While this may be obvious to some people, the actual science and litter index data collected through this experiment showed that while illegal dumping around trash cans may be a problem, the answer is not to take away public waste receptacles, but rather find better solutions for managing these public waste receptacles. The Cabinet recognizes the city's responsibility to manage public waste receptacles in the city, but through our study and analysis, we determined that community participation in the monitoring and maintenance of privately owned waste receptacles is critical. And with the amount of community groups that have already expressed willingness to install their own privately managed public waste receptacles that complement the neighborhood and add to the cleanliness of a street or commercial corridor, we are confident that we can work together to increase trash can coverage and improve litter conditions in Philadelphia. On behalf of the Zero Waste and Litter Cabinet, we thank you for introducing this legislation and creating the conditions to allow the Streets Department to work with community organizations to increase public trash cans in Philadelphia. I'll be happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you. Councilman Greenlee?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Esposito, just so I'm clear on this, now, when the community group would be responsible for this trash receptacle in their neighborhood, who would be responsible for emptying it, maintaining it?
So what would accompany this kind of authorization would allow the Streets Department to enter into basically MOUs with these neighborhood associations or CDCs, the entity that would be able to maintain. So through that process, there would be certain conditions that they would have to meet to maintain them. So basically emptying them, managing the trash, making sure they're not vandalized, making sure they're kept in good working condition.
Okay, and because I know sometimes people, like block captains over the years, have done these, and oftentimes I saw in my neighborhood, I know what you're saying here, that if you take it away, it collects more trash, but I had, most of the time, people wanted it taken away after a while, because they didn't realize the work it would take to maintain it, especially if it was like in a public transportation area, that kind of thing, that they found people did put their own trash in there, put their dog waste in there, all that stuff. So, but it would be, would the city empty these trash cans at all, or would it be simply up, or has that not been all worked out yet?
So they would be responsible for emptying them and managing the bags, but then again, we would work together to, they would be able to put this out with their trash collected through the week. If they're a business that's monitoring this, again, working with the CDC to monitor where it goes. We've also talked about, expanding access to the sanitation convenience centers for like the CDCs to be able to use that as well. So those are some ideas that we've had. But yes, we had that. This is modeled a lot after that block captain thing, and also taking into consideration when people beg us for a trash can and then a month later can beg to take it away.
Please take it away. That's what we heard a lot of, or I heard a lot of in my area. And just recently there was VFW that thought they were doing, and then after a while just couldn't take it anymore, it just became too much. So are people being warned about this so they understand that that could be an issue?
And that's where the thinking behind this comes. If we can work together to actually sit down and talk about, from all the data we've collected, from the behavioral studies, what to expect, that we can work together to kind of, in a continuous way, that it's the city and the community working together. But we have shown research that when there are, people feel that there's eyes on these cans, when there's consistent branding that goes among them that feels like it's all part of the same project, they are self-policed on these corridors a lot better than they are now. So kind of the anonymous trash can on the corner that anybody can use and no one knows who it belongs to,
Right.
we see problems that come with that. So we would make people aware of what
And
to
would this-
expect and working together.
Would this have signs on it, something to that
There would be
extent?
signage, yeah, that say, and sometimes other communities have shown like signage that can connect back to maybe the business it's in front of. There's already the ordinance on the books that if you're selling prepared or packaged food, that you need to have a trash can out front of your establishment, so that would be able to tie into this network. And again, it's not just everyone trying to figure this out on their own, it's working together with the community group structure and the CDC structure to be able to do that.
Okay, good luck.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
Thank you. I also like to recognize Councilwoman Bass, who's present for the hearing. I have a question, obviously off of what Councilman Greenlee had said. Are we looking also, and I noticed some problems that we've had with trash cans being placed out, but maybe putting signage up and enforcement of people who dump household trash into these cans? Because the problem is if they do put these bags, and sometimes you see the ShopRite bags, Acme bags, whatever, fill them up and throw them in these cans, and next thing you know, they're filled to the top. Is there a way to work with the community groups when the eyes are out there to be able to then enforce people who do that behavior, so therefore we can curtail it and then hopefully help these cans from never overflowing?
Yes, I mean, that's the intent for this, that we would, again, have better communication and know where the problem spots are before they get out of control, too much dumping is happening. This would also tie into better mapping of where we see all of our trash cans in the city, the ones that we put out as a city and the ones that are put out through a program such as this.
Yeah, and we could think of maybe a sign or coming up with a slogan or something, no house trash, street trash only, or something that would get people to realize that please don't dump in these cans.
We love a good slogan on the cabinet, so we're always excited
And
to come up with those.
it doesn't allow every neighbor just to keep their trash cans out in front of their homes also, does it? Or just,
Not in this particular
Not-
legislation. Yeah, this is entering like MOUs with different larger groups that would then manage the cans within the corridor.
okay, thank you very much. Is there, Councilman Tautenberger?
I'm intrigued by all this. I think you're on the right track. There's no question about it. But just to go over again to make sure I got this right, who is responsible to actually empty the can?
So thank you, Councilman Tautenberger, for that. So it would be the community group that, or whatever organization
Okay.
signs up to that. They would kind of monitor the larger system, but most times what we've seen is the actual business that maybe it takes the can out front, they would work something out to be able to.
And what do they do with it?
So they can keep in their own trash storage until collection days, or like we said, we would want to open access for them to be able to make runs to our sanitation convenience centers
They
to
can
get rid
put
of
it
that
out
can.
on trash day.
What's that?
I said they then can put it out on
Yes,
trash day.
yes, on trash
At
collection.
that site or
Depending on what their trash collection system is,
Yeah.
they would, if they do put stuff out curbside, or if they do put, most have private collection, they would put it with their private collection that gets picked up.
okay, well that's interesting. The other thing, household trash, is there an actual ordinance against that? If you put household trash in?
Yes, there is a fine associated with the dumping of household trash.
Do you know what that fine is by chance? don't
I
know.
believe it's a $150 fine on caught.
Okay. I think that's kind of, Mr. Chair, thank you very much for
Thank you, Mr.
your passion and your work that you do. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Nick, thank you, and the Litter Cabinet's work on this and Zero Waste Initiative. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 180748? Seeing none, thank you. Mr.
Thank you.
McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180728, an ordinance amending Section 9-212 of the Philadelphia Code by prohibiting newsstands on the north side of Arch Street between 18th Street and 19th Street, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Rebecca. Just state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. My name is Rebecca Swanson. I'm the Director of Planning for the Department of Licenses and Inspections. I'm here to provide testimony on Bill number 18072. 728, right? Which will amend Section 9212 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Newsstands. The bill prohibits newsstands on the north side of Arch Street between 18th Street and 19th Street. The department has no objection to this bill and is prepared to enforce its provision should it become law. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the department's testimony.
Councilman Greeley?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Ms. Swanson, you may not know the answer to this. I know there was a newsstand on that side of the street. Do you know what happened? Are they leaving, or do you have any idea? Or by passing, they would have to leave, or?
If they were already there, this could not kick them out.
It would not, okay.
I'm assuming they probably relocated during the construction. This is the block of the new
Yeah.
Comcast tower.
No, I know,
So
I
I
know.
presume they were already relocated because all four of those sidewalks have been shut down for over a year.
Well, was the north side
North
on?
side?
North side, I don't think was.
Was it? I thought all four were. I thought all four were.
I'm not sure.
No.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But I know there was one. I was
Yeah.
just wondering if you knew.
No,
Yeah.
this would not kick them out.
Okay, all
They
right.
must have already relocated.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 180728? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180753, an ordinance amending Section 9-213 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Farmers Markets by adding a permissible location on Germantown Avenue, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Committee on Streets and Services. My name is Rebecca Swanson, Director of Planning for the Department of Licenses and Inspections. I am here to provide testimony on Bill Number 180753, which, if enacted, will amend Section 9213 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Farmers Markets. The bill adds as a permissible farmers market location the sidewalk and curb lane of the east side of Germantown Avenue between East Church Lane and East Schoolhouse Lane. The department has no objections to this bill and is prepared to enforce its provision should it become law. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the department's testimony.
Councilwoman Bass?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just really wanted to thank the department for working with us to make sure that this happens. As you know, that we have a food desert in many of our neighborhoods, and providing fresh fruits and vegetables and other goods and items is critically important to make sure that we have a healthy population in the city. So I just really wanted to thank you all for the work. Thanks.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on bill number 180753? Seeing none, Mr. McGonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180814, an ordinance amending Section 9-206 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Vendors in Neighborhood Business Districts by adding a designated vendor location in the University City District, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla, members of the Committee on Streets and Services. My name is Rebecca Swanson, Director of Planning for the Department of Licenses and Inspections. I am here to provide testimony on bill number 180814, which, if enacted, will amend Section 9206 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Sidewalk Vendors in Neighborhood Business Districts. The bill adds one permissible vending location to the western side of 36th Street between Market Street and Chestnut Street. The department has no objection to the bill and is prepared to enforce its provision should it become law. Thank you for the opportunity to provide the department's testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none. Anyone else here to testify on bill number 180814? Seeing none. Mr. McMonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 171054, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 295 by striking from the City Plan Harner Street from Spring Lane to Manatawna Avenue and reserving and placing on the City Plan of right-of-way for sewer and drainage purposes within the lines of Harner Street being stricken and authorizing acceptance of the grant to the city of said right-of-way under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Please proceed with your state your name for your record, then proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Swale and members of the committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager for the Department of Streets, and I'd like to offer the following testimony on bill number 171054. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requester by Mr. Brett Pinansky of Claire Harrison Harvey Brandsburg LLP on behalf of Mr. Stephen Colts. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to have the street be stricken as part of a planned improvement at 530 Spring Lane. Harner Street has never been constructed or improved. The party of interest owns all property fronting Harner Street, which runs through the parcel known as 530 Spring Street. I will be happy to respond to any questions.
Sarah, please proceed.
Okay, good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 171054, which was introduced by Council Member Jones on November 30th, 2017. Bill number 171054 will strike Harner Street from Spring Lane to Manitowoc Avenue and reserve a drainage right-of-way at this location. Harner Street is not physically paved or legally open for public traffic. This legislation is to help the property owner to implement an open space ecological restoration and building improvement plan on the historical farm property. At its meeting on September 18, 2018, the Planning Commission recommended Bill 171054 be approved. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 171054? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180840, an ordinance authorizing the striking from City Plan number 119 and abandonment of a certain right-of-way reserved for drainage purposes located along the westerly side of 10th Street north of Poplar Street and extending westwardly therefrom under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squell and members of the committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager for the Department of Streets, and I'd like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 180840. The bill seeks to authorize the striking from the city plan and abandonment of a certain right-of-way reserved for drainage purposes located along the westerly side of 10th Street, north of Poplar, and extending westwardly therefrom. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Mr. Matthew E. Shenton, P.E. of Gilmore Associates on behalf of Frankie's World Foundation. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to remove the right-of-way reserved for drainage purposes since it is no longer needed and to allow for future development. I will be happy to respond to any questions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180840, which was introduced by Councilmember Greenlee for Council President Clark on September 27, 2018. Bill number 180840 will strike and abandon a drainage right-of-way on west of 10th Street. This action is to help the current property user, Frankie's World Foundation, a daycare center for children with special health care needs, to utilize the space and construct an outdoor play area with an 8-feet-high fence surrounding it. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16 with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180840? Seeing none, Mr. McGonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180843, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 195 by striking from the City Plan Amber Street from Lehigh Avenue to a point northeastwardly therefrom under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squell and members of the committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager for the Department of Streets, and I'd like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 180843. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Mr. Kyle Dowdy of Rogerio and Plant Land Design, LLC, on behalf of River Wards Group. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to strike Amber Street from Lehigh Avenue to a point northeastwardly to clear land area for a proposed residential development. I will be happy to respond to any questions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180843, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 27, 2018. Bill number 180843 will strike Amber Street from Lehigh Avenue to the existing CSX railroad right-of-way. This action is to facilitate a proposed 155-unit residential development on the 4-acre site. The proposal also includes about 9,500 square feet of commercial space at the ground floor of 4 separate buildings and 154 surface parking spaces. The Planning Commission had serious concerns for this development. At its meeting on February 20, 2018, the Commission recommended the variance not be approved and requested that the applicant continue refining the application to reflect the concerns regarding rail adjacency to the residential units, inclusion of more commercial or non-residential spaces, and other issues raised at the Civic Design Review meetings. The Planning Commission is scheduled this streets bill on October 16th to make their decision. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180843? Seeing none. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180845, an ordinance authorizing the revision of lines and grades on a portion of City Plan number 196 by striking from the City Plan Trenton Avenue from Clearfield Street to Allegheny Avenue under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Councilman Squilla and members of the committee. My name is Frank Morelli, Survey Bureau Manager of the Department of Streets, and I'd like to offer the following testimony on Bill number 180845. This bill seeks to strike from the City Plan Trenton Avenue from Clearfield Street to Allegheny Avenue. This is not an administration ordinance, but an ordinance requested by Mr. Jedig Deng of Ruggiero and Plant on behalf of 2204-2214 East Allegheny Avenue LLC. The purpose of this proposed ordinance is to strike these streets to remove a paper street as an encumbrance on private property and clear land for an approximate 18-foot wide private driveway serving a proposed residential development. I will be happy to respond to any questions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180845, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 27, 2018. Bill number 180845 will strike Trenton Avenue from Clearfield Street to Allegheny Avenue. This action is to help facilitate a proposed residential development on the site. The developer proposed to construct a driveway on the bed of Trenton Avenue to avoid traffic on the existing city streets. Trenton Avenue becomes dead end at Cambria Street, which is 2 blocks west of Clearfield Street. Striking the paper street will not impact the street grid or impact existing traffic pattern in the area. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16 with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180845? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Mr. McMonigle, if you want to go back up to 180689.
Bill number 180689, an ordinance authorizing the construction of a sewer and appurtenant work required to provide public sewer service in a portion of the 4800 block of Trinity Street.
Please state your name for the record and then proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Councilman Squilla and members of the committee. My name is Brian Mole, Assistant Engineering Division Manager of the Water Department. I am here to testify regarding 2 bills. The first bill, number 180689, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Construction of a Sewer and Appurtenant Work required to provide public sewer service in a portion of the 4800 block of Trinity Street. This was introduced by Council Member Blackwell on June 21st, 2018. The second bill, number 180703, entitled An Ordinance Authorizing the Construction of a Sewer and Appurtenant Work Required to Provide Public Sewer Service in a portion of the 5800 block of Knox Street, was introduced by Council Member Bass on June 21st, 2018. The impacted properties on these blocks indicated in each of these 2 bills are currently served by private sewers, each of which has deteriorated past its useful life, and each of which requires replacement as soon as possible. Over time, these 2 private sewers have suffered many structural defects, and at this point, any additional repairs, cleaning, or internal linings are not recommended. First, without installing replacement sewers. The newly constructed Water Department sewers will be public sewers, taking the place of the deteriorated private sewers currently serving these blocks. Each of the new sewers will be constructed to PWD's high standards and in a manner that will better facilitate customers' ability to maintain the proper function of their laterals and reduce the need for costly repairs. in accordance with the Philadelphia Code. Impacted residents on the blocks of 5800 Knox Street and 4800 block of Trinity Street will be assessed for their installation of the new sewers. These charges will be billed to their individual property owners' existing water, sewer, and stormwater accounts. PWD respectfully requests that these bills be reported favorably out of committee and that the rules of council be suspended to allow for the first reading of this bill at the next session of City Council. This concludes my testimony on these two bills. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180689 and 180703? Seeing none, Ms. McGonigal, will you read the title of the next bill?
Bill number 180691, an ordinance authorizing Shift Capital LLC to install, own, and maintain proposed access vault encroachments at 3701-07 North Broad Street, Philadelphia, PA, 19140, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Service Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180691. This bill authorizes Shift Capital LLC to install, own, and maintain proposed access vault encroachments at 3701-07 North Broad Street under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets does not oppose this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. He's good. I'll say. Are you going to testify on?
He's with the Streets Department as well.
Okay.
Just providing support.
Okay, are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180691? Seeing none, thank you very much. Mr. McManus, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180692, an ordinance legalizing an existing wood deck and ramp encroachment at 1338-1344 Rising Sun Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19140, all under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180692 as amended. This bill legalizes an existing wood deck and ramp encroachment at 1338 to 1344 Rising Sun Avenue under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets does not oppose this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Sarah.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180692, which was introduced by Councilmember Greenlee for Council President Clark on June 21st, 2018. Bill number 180692 will legalize an existing wood deck and ramp encroachment at 1338-44 Rising Sun Avenue. The deck encroaches 6 feet onto the north footway of Rising Sun Avenue, leave a 6 feet 3 inches of clear and unobstructed walking zone space. The ramp encroaches 7 feet 4 inches on the north footway of Rising Sun Avenue, leave 5 feet 6 inches walking zone space. The city's complete street policy requires a minimum 7 feet of clear and unobstructed walking zone space on Rising Sun Avenue. This proposal doesn't meet the minimum requirement. At its meeting on July 17, 2018, the Planning Commission recommended that Bill number 180692 not be approved. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Seeing none, Howard, did you want to testify on this bill?
Good day, council members.
State your full name for the record and then proceed.
My name is Howard Foreman, and I'm the owner of the Caribbean Feast restaurant located at 1338 Rising Sun Avenue. We have been there for 15 years. We have been hiring the people from the community over this period of time to work there. We take part in the different necessity to uplift the neighborhood. And we believe that our deck there for customers and patrons to sit on has been requested many times by my customers. The deck does not in any way, shape, or form prevent or cause any obstacle to pedestrians, and this will definitely be a great thing for the community, as I'm also an awardee for money from the city I'm one of the awardee for storefront revitalization program in the Broad Street and Erie Avenue, and just waiting for the permit to complete this.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Councilman Greenlee?
Thank you. Sir, have you ever received any complaints from the community about this?
No, sir.
Okay, all right. And Ms. Chu, if I could just ask you, I mean, I know this happens sometimes. Obviously, the streets department's policy seems to say this is okay, correct? And
Yes, I've gotten okay from everybody.
No, I'm asking her, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you, the two departments, first of all, let me just say, doesn't the streets department usually like regulate right away, that kind of thing? Isn't that what we do? What they do? Yes. Because really, isn't it's kind of a right-of-way issue, I would assume?
Yes, that is correct, the streets
State
department.
your name for the record.
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Christopher Renfro. I'm an engineering supervisor with the Philadelphia Streets Department right-of-way unit.
Mm-hmm, okay. And what I said is correct, that isn't the right-of-way kind of under your folks, right?
Generally, yes.
Okay. So, Ms. Chu, I just want to, I'm not trying to, I know you're doing what you have to do here, but I'm just trying to figure, is there any, do you guys ever sit down and talk about this? Why you have different regulations like that?
I think when we review the encroachment item, we look at under the complete street policy guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
And if the complete street guideline says half of the sidewalk has to be clear, that's what we ask for.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm not going to belabor it, but
Yeah.
you say complete streets, that's the streets department, they're okay with it. There's no opposition from the community,
Okay.
so.
Okay, great.
I'll leave it at that. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilman Tautenberger?
Mr. Chairman, and I have no questions for the panel other than to announce I do have some other city business outside these chambers, and I'd like to be recorded as voting aye on all bills.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Tautenberger. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 180692? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Mr. McGonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180701, an ordinance authorizing Building Bach LP to construct, own, and maintain a proposed loading dock extension encroachment at 1901 South 9th Street, Philadelphia, PA 19148, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Service Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180701. This bill authorizes Building Bach LP to construct, own, and maintain a proposed loading dock extension encroachment at 1901 South 9th Street, Philadelphia, PA 19148, all under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets opposes this ordinance for a number of reasons. Approval of the proposed encroachment will require the Streets Department to acknowledge and accept the usage of the Dudley Street East Footway as an allowable truck vehicle path. Approval of the proposed encroachment will require the Streets Department to acknowledge the complete blockage of pedestrian traffic on the East Footway of Dudley Street during loading operations. We realize there's an existing condition where cars park on the sidewalk, but this condition has not been formally approved. Approving this ordinance will set precedents for similar encroachments in the area. If the ordinance passes, the Streets Department will require that the property owner upgrade the corner ADA ramps at all four corners of the property frontage. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180701, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on June 21st, 2018. Bill number 180701 will permit the construction of a loading platform that extends an additional 10 feet 6 inches from the building's loading entrance and sit 18 inches above the sidewalk level. The platform encroaches 3 feet onto the northern footway of Dudley Street. The Planning Commission has the following concerns for this proposal. First, building an elevated loading platform on a public sidewalk is not appropriate as it creates a substantial barrier for pedestrians. Second, the proposal indicates its loading operation will be handled on the sidewalk, which has negative impact to the existing residential homes across the street. At its meeting on July 17, 2018, the Planning Commission recommended Bill number 180701 not be approved. This concludes my testimony. I appreciate the opportunity to testify before you today. Please answer any questions you may have.
Thank you. Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, anybody else here to testify on Bill number 180701? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Mr. Monaco, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180702, an ordinance legalizing an existing garage extension encroachment at 1815 South 8th Street, Philadelphia, PA 19148, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180702. This bill legalizes an existing garage extension encroachment at 1815 South 8th Street, Philadelphia, PA 19148, all under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets is opposed to this encroachment because a garage extension beyond the street line is explicitly prohibited by Section 11-6047 of the Philadelphia Code. Approval of this encroachment sets a precedence for similar encroachments in the area. This encroachment is for the sole benefit of the property owner and offers no public benefit, especially since the curb cut at this location eliminates an on-street parking space. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180702, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on June 21st, 2018. Bill number 180702 proposed to legalize an existing garage encroachment at 1815 South 8th Street. The garage encroaches onto the south footway of McLeland Street for 2 feet 7 inches for a width of 29 feet 3 inches, leave 5 feet 6 inches of clear and unobstructed walking zone space for pedestrians. The complete street policy standards require minimum 5 feet walking zone on the street, so this encroachment meets the minimum walking zone requirement. Therefore, at its meeting on July 17, 2018, the Planning Commission recommended Bill number 180702 be approved as an item in accord with previous policy. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180702? Seeing none, Ms. McGonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180737, an ordinance authorizing Esperanza Health to install, own, and maintain a proposed entrance patio encroachment at 861 East Allegheny Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19134, all under certain terms and conditions.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180737. This bill authorizes Esperanza Health to install, own, and maintain a proposed patio encroachment at 861 East Allegheny Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19134, under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets is not opposed to this encroachment. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180737, which was introduced by Councilmember Sanchez on September 20th, 2018. This bill will permit construction of an entrance patio with a ramp and steps encroachment at 861 East Allegheny Avenue. The patio, ramp, and step encroach into the north footway of Allegheny Avenue 4 feet for a length of 75 feet, and leaving a 15 feet of clear and unobstructed walking zone space for pedestrians. The complete street policy asking for a 15 feet walking zone on Allegheny Avenue, so this encroachment meets the minimum walking zone recommendations. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16 with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180737? Seeing none, Ms. McGonigal, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180819, an ordinance legalizing an existing patio encroachment at 3749-51 Midvale Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19129, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180819. This bill legalizes an existing patio encroachment at 3749-51 Midvale Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19129, all under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets opposes this encroachment for the following reasons. The existing patio reduces the clear width of walkable sidewalk to 7 feet 4 inches, which is below the minimum walking zone of 10 feet set forth in the Philadelphia Pedestrian and Bicycle Plan and adopted by the city under Section 11-900 Complete Streets of the Philadelphia Code. 2, the patio was built without permits and directly on top of an active 8-inch water main. The Department of Streets conferred with the Water Department and confirmed that they are also not in support of legalizing this encroachment as it creates a hindrance to their operations of repairing any leaks or breaks. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180819, which was introduced by Councilmember Jones on September 20th, 2018. Bill number 180819 will legalize a raised patio with rails which encroached into the west footway of Midvale Avenue 8 feet for a length of 32 feet and it left 7 feet 4 inches of clear and unobstructed walking zone space for pedestrians. The city's complete street policy standards require minimum 10 feet walking zone space on Midvale Avenue. This encroachment doesn't meet the minimum walking zone requirement. Additionally, the patio was built on top of an active 8-inch water main. It interferes with water departments to do their repair and maintenance work. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16 with a staff recommendation for not for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180819? Please proceed. Just state your name for the record, and then you can proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Brian Mull with the Philadelphia Water Department. I'm the Assistant Engineering Division Manager. Concerning this bill, the Water Department opposes this ordinance for the following reasons. As stated earlier, there's an 8-inch water main that runs under the footway and underneath of the patio that exists there now. The Water Department's concern is that changes to load and grading changes has a detrimental effect to our water mains, especially when the loads are not consistent and when we have a drop-off in load, we put stresses on the ground and that transfers to our water mains. Additionally, where the existing patio drops off on the left-hand side, there is a joint there for a T for the water main. We have seen this type of condition in the past where the water mains break at these load changes. The classic example would be Baker's Basin, where loads were placed on the transmission mains and they ruptured. In this case, we have a uneven load placed on top of the water main where the patio sits, and the Water Department is concerned about that load change. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilman Greenlee?
Have you talked, Councilman Jones introduced this, have you been in touch with Councilman Jones on this?
I have not personally, no.
Do you know, has the Water Department been in touch with him?
I don't know that for a fact.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180819? Seeing none. Mr. McMonagle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180823, an ordinance authorizing Anthony DeLoa to construct, own, and maintain a proposed exterior stairway encroachment at 2573 Tulip Street, Philadelphia, PA 19125, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla, members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180823. This bill authorizes Anthony DeLolia to construct, own, and maintain a proposed exterior stairway encroachment at 2573 Tulip Street, all under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets opposes this ordinance because it sets precedents for similar encroachments in the area. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180823, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 20th, 2018. Bill number 180823 will legalize an existing exterior stairway at 2573 Tulip Street property. The stairway encroaches into the west footway of Huntington Street 3 feet for a length of 15 feet, leaving 8 feet 6 inches clear and unobstructed footway for pedestrians. The complete street policy standards require a minimum of 6 feet 6 inches walking zone space, so this encroachment meet the minimum walking zone requirement. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16th with staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180823? Seeing none, thank you. Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180824, an ordinance authorizing James Mahan to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 2546 East Lehigh Avenue, Philadelphia, PA, 19125, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squill and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180824. This bill authorizes James Mann to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 2546 East Lehigh Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19125, under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets has no objection to this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180824, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 20th, 2018. Bill number 180824 will permit an open-air sidewalk cafe at 2546 Lehigh Avenue property. The cafe encroaches onto the west footway of Livingston Street 2 feet for a length of 47 feet, leaving 5 feet of clear and unobstructed footway for pedestrians. The complete street policy requires a minimum 5 feet walking zone on Livingston Street. This encroachment meets the minimum walking zone requirement. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16th with the staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180824? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180825, an ordinance authorizing Fishtown Brew Pub to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1101 Frankfurt Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19125, under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squill and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is St. Martin Torrance. I'm Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180825. This bill authorizes the Fishtown Brew Pub to install, own, and maintain an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1101 Frankfurt Avenue, Philadelphia, PA 19125, under certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets has no objections to this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180825, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 20th, 2018. Bill number 180825 will permit an open-air sidewalk cafe at 1101 Frankfurt Avenue property. The cafe encroaches onto the north footway of Weldy Street 5 feet 6 inches for a length of 50 feet, leaving a 6 feet and 6 inches clear and unobstructed footway for pedestrians. The complete street standards requires a minimum 5 feet walking zone. So this encroachment meets a minimum walking zone requirement. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16th with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180825? Seeing none, Mr. McMonigle, please read the title of the next bill.
Bill number 180826, an ordinance authorizing Pico Energy Company to construct, own, and maintain proposed non-standard bollard encroachment at 900-22 Lombard Street, Philadelphia, PA 19103, all under certain terms and conditions.
Please proceed.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Service Committee. My name is St. Maureen Torrance, and I'm the Director of Legislative Affairs for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180826. This bill authorizes PECO Energy Company to construct, own, and maintain proposed non-standard bollard encroachments at 900-22 Lombard Street, Philadelphia, PA 19103, all on certain terms and conditions. The Department of Streets has no objections to this ordinance. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of Streets and Services Committee. I'm Sarah Chu, City Planner with the Philadelphia City Planning Commission. I'm here to testify on Bill number 180826, which was introduced by Councilmember Squilla on September 20th, 2018. Bill number 180826 will permit bollards encroachment at 900-22 Lombard Street property. The bollards encroach into the north footway of Rodman Street, 1 feet 6 inches from the curb line for a length of 128 feet, leaving a 7 feet 6 inches clear and unobstructed footway for pedestrians. The city's complete street policy standards require a minimum of 5 feet walking zone space on Rodman Street. This encroachment meets minimum walking zone recommendations. The Planning Commission is scheduled to consider this bill on October 16th with a staff recommendation for approval. This concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Are there any questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here to testify on Bill number 180826? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimonies. Mr. McMonagle, could you please read the title of the next bill?
Bill number 160026, an ordinance amending Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code, Chapter 12-100 General Provisions, by adding new definitions, and Chapter 12-900 Parking Regulations and Penalties by adding live performance arts venue to the entities exempt from paying fees for curbside loading zone permits, and adding a new section entitled Performing Arts Priority Loading and Unloading Zones, providing for loading and unloading zones to allow easier access for performing artists to load in and load out at live performance arts venues around the city of Philadelphia, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you. Mr. Montanez, if you'd like to state your name for the record and proceed.
Sure, my name is Richard Montanez, Deputy Commissioner for Transportation, Streets Department. Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Richard Montanez. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Transportation for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 160026, which was introduced by Councilman O. This bill amends Title 12 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Traffic Code, Chapter 12-100, General Provisions, by adding new definitions, and Chapter 12-900, Parking Regulations and Penalties, by adding live performing arts venues to the entitled exception from paying fees for the curved loading zones, and additional a new section entitled Performing Arts Priority Loading and Unloading Zone, providing for loading and unloading zones to allow easier access for performing artists to load in and load out at live performance art venues around the city of Philadelphia. I must acknowledge that Councilman O's office and the Streets Department have had prior meetings in the past regarding this issue. The Department of Streets has a few concerns with this ordinance and thus is opposed. The Streets Department provides permits for venues when they are requested. Currently, the permit is $25 per day for a 40-foot zone. Excluding use of a loading zone drastically reduces the ability of merchants in the vicinity to utilize the space as other loading zones currently allow. Such a condition would allow limited availability of on-street parking, and as the zone will be established for only the venue. Most venues operate during evening hours. To lose on-street parking during an entire day would generally impact merchants and local residents. On-street parking is an access benefiting merchants, residents, provides opportunity for an affordable parking space to those who cannot pay for private garages. The building, as proposed, allows an establishment to the opportunity for a loading zone in the front of their venue. This could be in direct conflict with existing travel lanes, causing additional burdens on already taxed roadway network. The elimination of a travel lane within Center City could potentially reduce the roadway capacity by up to 50%. Even if the zone was permitted during off-peak hours, the closure could cause gridlock in Center City proper. Currently, the Streets Department only allows closures of travel lanes to occur with Police Department assistance. Without the support of the Police Department and the appropriate temporary traffic control devices, the average motorist would not be aware of the restrictions, causing a public safety hazard. The Streets Department would like to have further discussions with Councilman's office and the Parking Authority. Unfortunately, we cannot support this bill as it is written. Thank you for your time. This concludes my testimony. I will be happy to respond to any questions.
Thank you. Mr. McMonigle, do you want to call up a...
Yes, could we have a David
Before
Ivory
Corinne goes, before you go.
come up and testify?
Yes, I'm here to testify.
We're going to have one
Hold
person
on,
testify
hold on,
and
Corinne.
then Corinne.
David
He has-
Ivory?
I understand he has to leave. Yes. You can stay there, Steve, Rich,
Okay.
stay there. Just state your name for the record and then...
David Ivory. My name is David Ivory. Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. It's my pleasure and honor to be testifying here on Bill 160026 for the music community here in the city of Philadelphia. I'm currently, among many other things, the chairman of the Music Industry Task Force. As you may know, we were challenged for the past year with this task force to find improvements and strategies to make the music industry more vibrant and helpful for the next generation of music makers in this city. As you may already know, music and its related industries, such as managers, attorneys, booking agents, local venues that have live original music, among many other businesses, represents a multi-billion-dollar industry for the city of Philadelphia. But unfortunately, as a city, we don't provide the support for these music makers like other music cities such as New York, Seattle, Nashville, and of course, Los Angeles. The Music Industry Task Force identified many issues that can change all that. Some big issues and some not so big. One of the not so big issues we identified was access to loading zones for musicians. We all realize the problems with parking generally in the city, but it's especially problematic for musicians. As some of you may or may not know, most musicians performing their original music here in the city basically play for free or for very little compensation. Combine that with getting a parking ticket while unloading your equipment ends up costing them too much money to perform. This then discourages musicians not to play in the city at all, or at best, play much less often. What seemed to come to the rescue was Bill 160026, introduced in 2014, and then later reintroduced as a pilot program in 2016. 4 years later, unfortunately, despite many attempts to get this pilot program up and running, we still have had no success in its implementation whatsoever. Today, we have various testimonies about specific problems from some of the live venues affected by lack of access to loading zones here in the city. These venues feel these venues feel it the most from both the musicians needing the loading zone and the city restricting it. I urge council to vote in favor of this bill so that venues who hire musicians will be able to provide a vehicle to have their gear loaded in and simply loaded out of the venue without penalty. This will have a direct effect on helping musicians earn more money, which creates additional wage and income tax revenue for the city, as well as awareness among the music community that the city of Philadelphia is supporting such a valuable natural resource, namely working musicians and the overall music scene. I encourage City Council to pass this Bill 160026 and provide a bit of relief for the self-employed makers, the self-employed music makers trying to make a living performing here in this great music city of Philadelphia. That concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Is there any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your testimony. Corinne, if you would like to state your name for the record and then give your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Corinne O'Connor. I'm the Deputy Executive Director of the Philadelphia Parking Authority. I'm here to testify on Bill number 160026. The authority is in support of the Streets Department testimony today. Currently, a business located within the Center City or University City boundaries must pay a $250 fee for 23 feet of space when a loading zone is installed in front of their place of business. If a meter is to be removed, a $500 fee is then assessed. And Center City's core, such as between 4th and 20th Street. In the Center City's core, the average meter revenue that is generated from that space is almost $10,000 a year. Bill number 160026 is designed to institute loading zones in front of all live performing arts venues. Although this may work in theory, it does not always work when looking at the location of some of the venues and the regulations currently in effect. When permissible, loading zones are strategically placed near the venues for accessible loading and unloading. Unfortunately, one or two of the venues are located on a side of the street where there's a traffic lane prohibiting the installation of a loading zone. Although the authority feels that a mandated fee-free loading zone is not always viable in this instance, the authority welcomes discussions on any alternatives on this issue. We look forward to working with Councilman O's office, the Streets Department, and the rest of council staff to find the alternative solution to this bill number. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Seeing none, thank you so much. Is there anybody else to testify on?
We have a Jesse Lundy and Bernard Resnick. And Chris Narizi might as well come up as well. Oh, okay.
Okay, all right.
David, do you want to do Bernie's first?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
Please just state your name for the record and then proceed.
My name is Jesse Lundy. I'm a member of the Music Industry Task Force with David and Bernard Resnick that we've discussed here. Thank you very much for allowing us to speak today and for listening. I'm a member of the Music Industry Task Force. One of our many tasks this year was to find ways to make musicians happier in the way they interact with the city of Philadelphia. One concern that was raised many times is the difficulty of loading and unloading at performance spaces around Philadelphia and having ample time to do so without threat of a parking ticket. It was brought to our attention that the Streets Department had begun speaking to area venues about their issues and needs, the pilot program that was mentioned earlier. We were told that a questionnaire was sent to venues, and when following up with these, it seems that the Trocadero was the only one who actually had received it. We spoke with Joanna Pang at the Trocadero about their concerns, but also branched out to talk to other venues that had been part of this inquiry. In speaking with Johnny Brenda's, the Hard Rock Cafe, Milk Boy, and Underground Arts, we collected some basic info and suggestions about what we could do in working with the Streets Department to improve the loading and unloading of equipment at shows. The info is contained in our annual report and ultimately included suggestions from Milk Boy and Underground Arts exclusively. So while the pilot program covered a bunch of different venues, the two that had expressed the most immediate concern were Underground Arts and Milk Boy. The other clubs felt that they had a system that worked in place and thanked us for their follow-up. Milk Boy's production manager, Joel Meltzer, suggested having loading times beginning at around 5 p.m. at the northwest corner of 11th and Chestnut. Currently, it's a no parking zone that could be converted to band loading with a placard or sign or just stanchions during that brief period of loading and unloading. The club would be happy to take responsibility for finding the best method and working with the Streets Department to make sure that it's policed properly. Underground Arts felt that an extended parking zone along Callow Hill between 12th and 13th that could accommodate cars as well as the frequent bus and trailer combinations that they have coming in would improve their situation. In order to retain and support working musicians in Philadelphia, the establishment of artist loading zones at area venues would increase artists' security in knowing that they can load and unload their gear and not receive a parking ticket that often costs more than they're being paid for their art. Other cities, Seattle for instance, have made these changes and appears to be successful. We encourage Philadelphia to do the same and are happy to work directly with the Streets and PPA to make that happen. Thank you for listening to my testimony.
Go ahead. Please proceed. Just state your name for the record, and then you can bring that towards you, and then proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Narisi. I'm a venue manager at Milk Boy Philadelphia. I've seen countless touring acts B, serve parking violations while briskly loading into our venue on the northeast side of 11th Street. Most recently, a band from Detroit last weekend called Electric Six. I also find it irrelevant to bring up lost commerce from meters, where at our venue specifically, there's already a loading zone that already exists. So issuing a permit for venues and performance artists to come in seems like it's really not affecting anything besides just helping these performance artists come in. What I do think it stifles is the commerce touring acts bring into Philadelphia. And also, I think it's a poor representation for performance artists that are traveling when they come to Philadelphia from out of state. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any questions? Please proceed.
I'm speaking with regards to Bernard Resnick, a double bass player, as you may see. So you might see what size that instrument is, something you can't really put in the back seat of your taxi. And I'm speaking obviously for him. I am a member of the Music Industry Task Force. I apologize that I'm unable to attend today's hearing because I am currently at Curtis Institute of Music attending a board meeting of their Musical Fund Society, which is the oldest musical philanthropist organization in the nation. David Ivory, chair of the Music Industry Task Force, was kind enough to agree to read and submit my letter on my behalf. I write to you today to encourage Council to pass Bill 160026 regarding amendments to the Philadelphia Traffic Code, amending Chapter 12-100 and adding Chapter 12-900. When I am not practicing law, I practice double bass as a professional musician. If you are not aware, the double bass is an essential instrument in most symphony orchestra, jazz ensembles, bluegrass groups, and rockabilly bands. This is a fun and versatile instrument to play. However, the double bass is immensely inconvenient to transport due to its large size, bulky shape, and heavy weight. A typical double bass is approximately 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and 2 feet deep. With the combined weight of the instrument, its travel case and accessory necessary to play is substantial. This is not the kind of musical instrument that one can normally transport in a taxi or by public transportation. Double basses typically serve as their own driver and stevedore, and we must drive a large vehicle such as station wagon or sports utility van to accommodate an instrument of this size. I have declined many opportunities to play shows over the past 3 decades due to the rehearsal and a performance venue not having ample and nearby parking, simply because of the inconvenience of carting my beloved instrument to and from the venue. If the venue has a loading dock or the ability of a dedicated parking space close to the entrance, I am much more likely to agree to perform the show. One example of such a facility is the Robin Hood Del East in Fairmount Park, where I have performed at city-sponsored concerts given by Black Pearl Chamber Orchestra. This venue has a loading dock and staff parking in the back of the stage area. Despite the steep hill where the venue is sited, I have been able to conveniently transport my instrument and accessories to and from rehearsals and concerts. I urge council to make this simple adjustment to the traffic code so that the venues who hire musicians that perform on instruments such as the double bass, drum kit, electric piano, synthesizer will be exempt from paying fees for curb loading zone permits. Excuse me. As well as providing for loading and unloading zones to allow easier access for performing artists to load in and load out of live performing arts venues around the city. This will have an indirect effect of helping musicians earn more money, which creates additional wage and income tax revenue for the city. It will also give Philadelphia music fans a greater variety of top-class entertainment to enjoy. Thank you for your attention. Respectfully submitted, Bernard Resnick.
Thank you. Thanks so much for your work, your passion, and being here to testify.
We appreciate you listening.
In front of council. Any Councilman now?
Just briefly, I understand we're pressed for time here. What I would basically say is that we have a music industry task force of really highly regarded people who are awfully modest. Every month they come in, Grammy Award winners, millions of records sold, working with top entertainers. David Ivory, sitting over there, in addition to the many things he's done, has produced the Roots hit albums, many others. Milk Boy has stars coming in often, and of course Jesse Lundy, having started with Electric Factory concerts and others. But we have many of these people, and in sum, basically the small problem of parking is costing us a lot of revenues. the attendees, the concerts, the promotions, the musicians, just the fact that many musicians don't want to come to our city or bypass our city, let alone the up-and-coming artists. There are ways we can work this out. The Streets Department and the Parking Authority has been willing to work this out. We look forward to working out with them. We're going to try to get this out of committee, and we'll go on from there. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks again. And I think Councilman is willing to work with them on this pilot, and I understand the streets and from what I heard of testimony and Parking Authority is also willing to work with the councilman on this pilot. So we're looking forward to getting this pilot up and running, and hopefully you guys will be able to help us work out any kinks. All right, thank you so much. Okay, is there anyone else here to testify? Oh, we have one more bill.
We do?
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that. Anyone here to testify on 160026? Seeing none. Mr. McMonagle, would you like to read the last bill, please?
She did. She testified.
All right. Bill number 180729. An ordinance amending section 10-710 entitled Dumping and Debris and Short Dumping by adding new provisions and amending section 10-719 entitled Penalties by further amending the maximum penalty to be assessed, all under certain terms and conditions.
Rich, just state your name again and proceed with your testimony.
Good afternoon, Chairman Squilla and members of the Streets and Services Committee. My name is Richard Montanez. I'm the Deputy Commissioner for Transportation for the Department of Streets. I'm here to offer testimony on Bill number 180729. This bill amends section 10-710 entitled Dumping of Debris and Short Dumping by adding new provisions and amends section 10-719 entitled Penalties by further adding the maximum penalty to be assessed all under certain terms and conditions. Illegal dumping is discarding waste larger than litter in an improper and or unlawful manner, where it doesn't belong and occurs on both private and public land, creating an environmental nuisance to the community and the municipality. Illegal dumping is a quality of life issue that affects operations across many city departments. It is constant, high visible, and mainly affects areas with higher population density. According to the broken window theory, a disorder environment, one which is not maintained, broken windows, graffiti, excess litter, sends a signal that the area is not monitored and that anyone can engage in criminal behavior with little risk of detection. The Streets Department, along with other city agencies, work together to combat this problem, but the root cause of this issue runs much deeper than a simple contractor dumping material in the middle of the night. In order to understand the root cause, we must examine factors that contribute to this problem. The most notable reasons are overcrowding, multiple families living in single-family homes, overcrowding in apartments atop businesses. In situations where there are multiple families living in housing meant for single families, trash is sometimes double or triple the amount that would normally be generated from the unit. This situation leads to individuals leaving trash on lots, around wire baskets, and usually at the end of the block, away from their home. Contractors, licensed and unlicensed. Contractors will leave materials in neglected areas where it is less likely that they will be caught and or reported by police or neighbors. They will dump in these areas to avoid disposal fees. Where we are dealing with contractors by using surveillance cameras, tire roundups, and illegal dumping crews. In order to address this issue, the Department of Streets has been using a three-pronged approach: education, enforcement, and future options legislation suggestions. Education, through the use of social media and our sweep officers and our extensive network of block captains, we inform the public of our many programs, which include collection services, household hazard waste events, annual spring cleanup, and our tire roundup program. Enforcement. The Streets Department uses strategic place cameras to combat illegal dumping. We also have ordinances that regulate waste management and mandatory proof of disposal agreements for construction sites. legislative and regulatory options. The Streets Department continues to explore legislative changes and options to prevent illegal dumping. We are proposing proof of proper tire disposal for tire shops. Applicants for multiple and single-family dwellings permits must provide a plan to ensure occupants have adequate storage space for trash until trash day. This bill, sponsored by Councilman President Clark, would increase the penalty for a violation of the code's prohibitions on placing debris and another person's property without their permission, short dumping, to a maximum fine of $25,000, with a fine no less than $2,000. While we wholeheartedly support the premises of the bill, which is to prevent illegal dumping and to send a message, we understand that legally a court will be limited in imposing a fine over $2,000 for this type of violation. In conclusion, a change in culture is needed in order for this plan to be suitable. Illegal dumping is a challenge for many cities across the country. The Streets Department works to solve this problem with many city agencies, mainly CLIP, the Police Department, and License and Inspection. This is an ongoing fight and truly solve this problem. We will take a concentrated effort amongst all city partners. We welcome any help that City Council can offer. I can answer any of your questions at this moment.
Thank you. You mentioned cameras. Is that something we're going to expand to for some of our hardest hit sites where we have constant dumping, to be able to use those cameras? And if we do have cameras at those locations, would that video be enough to be able to issue a fine on the violator?
Yeah, so we currently just purchased 50 cameras to spread out for illegal dumping. We do catch them, then we give the video to the DA's office, who goes criminally, presses charges against the individual. If we can identify the license plate and have a clear picture of the individual.
So these are good quality cameras, I hope that would.
Yes, they are.
Okay. And are these cameras, can they be moved from a site to site after a while?
We are working on a wireless program for them with OIT.
Okay, thank you.
The drones.
Councilman O wants to put drone cameras out there. Any other questions? Seeing none, is there anyone else here? Thank you so much for your testimony. Is there anyone else here to testify on bill number 180729? Seeing none, that will end our hearing. We now go into Streets and Services Committee. Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that bill numbers 180691 and 180729 be reported out as committee with a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Two bills have been read into the record. Two bills have been read into the record, have been, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Two bills read into the record are now approved. Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move the adoption of the amendments to bill number 180692 and 160026.
Second.
Bill 180692 and 160026 have been amended and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. Both bills have been amended. Councilman Greenlee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that the following bills be reported out as committee with favorable recommendation, that the rules of council be suspended to allow for first reading in the next session of council. Bill number is 180725, 180726, 180727, 180738, 180752, 180815, 180816, 180817, 180839, 180425, 180608, 180689, 180703, 180748, 180728, 180753, 180814, 171054, 180840, 180843, 180845, 180692 as amended, 180701, 180702, 180737, 180819, 180823, 180824, 180825, 180826, and 160026 as amended.
All bills read into the record have been seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it. All bills read into the record have been approved. With the suspension of rules, will be read next session of council. Thank you.
Thank you.